We are going to get into graphing today, right? So, couple rules that we have to follow. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say we have to follow rules that work in the graphing for what we're doing. First one, the graph that we're looking at, the one that we're doing in this very next moment or two, will only be true for that situation, right? Um, Tomorrow, I might ask the exact same questions, and you guys might have different assumptions. When I look at the graphs that are provided economically speaking, all that's showing me is a moment in time. So it's kind of like taking a picture of a family photo or having the family photo taken. It doesn't tell you all of the crazy and pain that went into getting that taken and the relief and everyone taking off these restricting clothes, the ties, and all this stuff after the picture is over. Like, all I see is that glimpse into that moment. A couple years back, I was doing a graph with a class. Bell rang. I was like, "That's not a problem. We'll finish tomorrow." Came in, asked the same questions, and the graph was totally messed up. It just didn't work. I think it was my first period class, and I was talking about like breakfast sandwiches, and they hadn't eaten that day, and so everyone's demand was super high. And then the very next day, they came in. They had all because I talked about breakfast sandwiches. The next morning, they all went out and had breakfast sandwiches and coffee and yada yada yada. So when I started asking the same question, no one was hungry. So the demand was like way, no one wanted it. So again, it's a momentary thing. The other thing, I cannot predict changing conditions in a market situation. So if I'm looking at like right now, we can look at President Biden and what his policies are doing, and we could compare it to Jimmy Carter and kind of what President Carter did way back in the '70s. But I can't tell you that it's going to be the exact same thing. I can tell you what I think might happen based off of the information that we have. But again, I can't predict what's going to happen. I can give you guys ideas. We talked about this a little bit yesterday in regards to the quantity demanded versus demand. So we are going to be working in the world of quantity demanded, where we can actually graph our responses. So what we're going to do is on your graph, do you guys have the money symbols or anything in there? No. So go ahead and put the money on there. So we go 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 on the left hand side. And on the bottom, 6, 14, 15. Let's go by threes. So we go 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. And then I did mess up on my demand schedule over here. This is a demand curve. This is your demand schedule. So if there's a question on the quiz, that's where those go. So I only give myself 6 spots. So let's go ahead and go 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So we can ignore the 7. A couple other things as we do these. I always start with the highest price. My assumption would be that if you're okay with the high price, you're probably also okay with the low price. So if you vote for the highest price, you don't have to put your hand back up. You'll see how that works here in a second. Right? So what I'm looking for you is a legal 20-ounce beverage that you would be able to or be willing to purchase. And I'm going to start at $6. So any of you guys, I'm including monster drinks, coffee, you name it. Anyone interested at $6?
How big is 20 ounces?
20 ounces is like this is a 20 ounce right here. That would be a 20 ounce bottle. Okay. Or a venti. So anybody at $6? Right, that's fine. So put a 0 on the demand schedule, and then it would look like that over here. How about at $5? Anybody interested at $5?
It's so little for $5.
How about $4? 1, 2, 2. Okay. How about $3? So the people who already had their hand up, you have to put it back up. So we were at 2, so I got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we jumped. Oh, sorry, 9. 9. So $3. We have 9 people. How about at $2? 10, 11, 12, 13. I believe we only have 13. At $1. Anybody else? Okay, so we're at 13 again. And this is only because we literally have only a certain number of people in class. So our demand curve looks like that. And that's our class's demand for a 20-ounce beverage. Now, again, tomorrow, if you guys came in, some of you guys may have gotten coffee or may have had something, and I might ask the same questions, or you might not have any money in your pocket. So it might change the curve, might be a little bit different. Again, going back to those rules, I could also potentially give you guys an idea that if I were to put out here in front of you guys a $3.50 item, I could probably get around 4 or 5 of you guys to jump on board with that. Okay. With that in mind, there's going to be a couple questions that you guys will struggle with. One of the questions is, if I'm dealing with price or quantity demanded, I can't remember exactly the wording. Will I be on the curve, or will the curve shift? The shifting will make more sense in a second. But just real quickly, if I were to say, okay, 450, based off of this graph, how many people would be considered interested in that at 450? 450 over to the price, probably about one person, right? Ish. So I just asked, that's for so I just asked the price. Now, what if I said, or I asked the question, at 10 people, what would 10 people consider a good price? Here? $2.75. So if I'm dealing with quantity demanded or price, I'm literally on the curve that's already there. I'm not adding anything new. I'm just looking at what's already presented. All right, good. Now, one of the things that we will always deal with is the fact that prices aren't the only thing that influence us. So the law of demand was all about prices, right? Price goes up, demand goes down. Price goes down, demand goes up. There are anomalies. There are other things that have nothing to do with price, but sometimes still impact our demand for things. There are 7 of them total listed here. Technically 8, because one of them is combined with. I may in the future change this to make this a little more. But income, my expectations as a consumer. Do I like the product? Is there a sale? Is it a better product? Is it a cheap product? The population. That's actually a pretty easy one. Demographics is a little bit more involved, but it still affects us. Consumer taste, and this is just my humble opinion. I believe that consumer taste is one of the biggest influences outside of price. Do I really, really like it? Do I not like it? And then complementary goods and substitute goods. Substitute goods are exactly what you think they were, where they are. Something that replaces the item I want to buy. And it can be almost anything. If I was to say Coca-Cola, what would be a substitute for Coca-Cola? Pepsi would be a direct one. What would be some other things you guys could get instead of Coke or Pepsi? Pepper, water, milk, energy drink, I mean anything you could replace it with. Complementary goods are things that go along with other goods. And you guys may have noticed these. Has anybody been to the grocery store in the past 2 weeks? Okay. Anybody notice a summer delicacy around the campfire they're starting to put out in the aisles? And so if you guys go down the cracker aisle, the cookie aisle, and you see the graham crackers, what's right next to them? Marshmallows and Hershey bars. And if you go down the candy aisle and you see the Hershey bars, what's right next to them? Marshmallows and graham crackers. If you go down the sugar aisle and you find your marshmallows, there's graham crackers and Hershey bars right there. So those are complementary because they kind of go with, like, if you guys go to the movies, you typically get some sort of like popcorn drink. And there's a mental thing that kind of goes along with it. And we have tons of those. So, these are, I'm not sure how, in the notes, so I have it labeled as non-price determinants or just determinants of demand? Non-price, okay. So you might hear me reference them as determinants of demand. But again, keep in mind, has nothing to do with the price of the item. It's things that affect me and my demand for something. So, let's go ahead and very, very quickly explain this shifting thing. Right? This is where the question that I was talking about in the quiz will come back. There are things that I'll show you guys here in a moment, those 7 things, that may shift my demand. The price for the item will not change, but my demand will change because of the situation. So let's say that you guys are going out with some friends and nothing special is going on. I think we talked about this yesterday. You probably would all go fetch, buy their own stuff. And you might even buy something smaller because you're a guy and they're kind of holding that. But let's say you guys get yourself, you graduated high school, you're going full time, 40 hours a week, you got a really decent paying job. What might you do when you live with your friends? I'll take it. And so our income kind of affects us that way. So the whole demand will shift. The price of the food didn't change. My demand, my income is adjusted to my demand. So if you start to see a decrease, it's typically a shift to the left, an increase, shift to the right. I'll show you guys how that works here right now. One of the things that we run into, and this is where those definitions come in, normal versus inferior. Probably the best way to explain this is Walmart versus Giant Eagle, or Aldi's versus what's the really nice grocery store we talk about? What's that? Not Myers.
Dealers?
Dealers is one. There's another one. I think I'm stuck. Heinz. Has anybody been in a Heinz? Yeah, they're a little bit nicer, a little more expensive too, right? So if you're in a Heinz or an Aldi's, there is the normal goods, the name brand stuff you would get at Heinz or Giant Eagle, versus the Aldi's or Walmart, where you get your inferior goods. Now, the funny part about this is where consumer taste sometimes overrides things. Does anybody have a generic food that they like better than the name brand food? One of my
I like
students.
the fake Pringles.
The what?
The fake Pringles.
Fake Pringles?
The stacks.
Okay, you like the stacks better. Okay. Has anybody had toaster pastries versus Pop Tarts? I've had because I used to do the fake Pop Tarts and toaster pastries, and I would say, oh, the inferior good was the toaster pastries. But then I always had a student or two that would be like, I like those better.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just like them better. I like them. Was one of my students last class said generic, the generic cereal that comes in the bags. She's like, I'd rather have that over the name brand. She said, plus you get twice as much because it's a big bag of it. It's just a different name. Right? So, but typically, if you have lots of money in regards to income, you typically go out and buy yourself your normal brands, your name brand stuff. There might be a couple of exceptions to that rule. But if you're struggling to get by, this is where you typically will end up going to like an inferior or generic brand. The other thing too, remember that purchasing power I mentioned yesterday? If I were to say purchase $350 worth of groceries at Giant Eagle or Heinz, and then I went to Walmart and got almost the exact same stuff, just on the name brand stuff, and it only cost me $200, where am I wealthier? Walmart, because I had about $150 left over to buy all the other stuff. So that's kind of another aspect to this. So let's go ahead and have some fun graphing this situation. So looking at automobiles, and I'm not sure, has anybody used this break in math class in the graphs? So you're allowed to do this, and then it allows me to do that $10,000 interval. That's why it's going to work. But 30,000 all the way through 90,000. And then on the bottom, we'll just leave it 5, 10, 15, 20 for now. I think, does you guys have the numbers at the bottom of those?
No.
So yours are totally blank. That's fine. We'll leave those numbers there. To give you guys a better idea, I'm going to put down what it will cost you probably monthly for each of these cars. And it's pretty basic. So 30,000, looking at about 300. And I'm not 100% accurate on this. This is just to make our lives a little easier. 500, 600, 700. So these would be your monthly costs if you wanted to purchase these vehicles. So, under your current income and your current amount of money that you have coming in, and again, I said automobile because it opens up to anything else, anything with a truck, SUV, motorcycle, whatever. Anybody interested at 90,000 to get said vehicle?
Last one.
So that would be a no. How about 80,000 or 800 bucks a month? How about 70,000? $60,000 or 600 bucks a month?
We're broke.
Okay, 500 a month, 50,000. I got one. How about 40,000? I got 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. 5. How about 30,000? $300. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, that's fine. 10. Okay. So here's our demand. Demand right now. Okay. Now, let's change the situation. We give you guys $80,000 income for the year. So if I take that 80,000, divide that by 12 months, looking at around almost $7,000 in income. So if I divide that by 2, well, I think I told was it you? I told you guys a rule of thumb when it comes to housing and cars. For those who don't know, your monthly income, half of it should be dedicated to housing and transportation. So if you're making $7,000 a month, then you're looking at $3,500 for housing and car. Usually a decent amount. And then the other $3,500 is for miscellaneous bills and other stuff that's making a lot. So you're looking at around $3,500 of available cash per month under your new income. So with that in mind, is anyone interested in a new vehicle for $900 a month or $90,000? How about 80,000? $70,000? 1, 2. I'll jump on board. We'll go 3. How about 60,000? 4. 4. How about 50,000? 5, 6, 7. 7. 40,000? 8, 9, 10, 11. And then how about 30,000? 12, 13, 14. So there's my demand.
Should these all be on the same graph?
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, each graph is just one item. It shows you that shift I was talking about. Right, so did the price of the car change? My income changed. So I'm willing to spend more money because I have more money to. Now, here's that graphing situation, the rules. If I start the next graph, I may not finish it. So I'm going to wait till tomorrow to start that next graph. Right, so we're going to stop right there. And we'll jump in with the next one tomorrow. Could make it happen, but I don't want to rush it.
Oh, just so funny.